You won't know this is a regret until it's too late. Not the regret of failing, not the regret of losing, not the regret of trying. Those regrets are loud. But the regret we're talking about today is silent, slow, dangerous, and it arrives quietly around your 40s, like a truth you've avoided for years. It's the regret of living a life shaped by other people's opinions instead of your own. You don't feel it at 20, you barely notice it at 30, but somewhere after 40, you wake up inside a life that looks fine on the outside, but feels unfamiliar on the inside. And the question hits you: how much of my life was actually mine? Stay with me, because this regret grows slowly, and by the time you recognize it, a decade has already disappeared. When we're young, we bend for approval because we think it leads to love. We choose degrees because they look respectable. We choose careers because they sound impressive. We say yes to avoid disappointing people. We stay quiet to avoid conflict. We pretend to be easygoing so no one sees our real desires. And for a while, it works. People like us. People praise us. People think we're doing well. But here's the truth. Approval has a cost, and the bill always arrives later. Because every time you say yes to please someone, you quietly say no to yourself. You won't feel this regret in the moment. You're too busy surviving, achieving, being admired. You feel it later, when you look around and realize, I built a life that doesn't feel like mine. For most people, the realization arrives after 40, not because your life is falling apart, but because the pretending gets heavier. You look at your job and think, did I choose this, or did I just never dare to leave? You look at your relationships and wonder, am I being myself, or the version of me that keeps the peace? You look at your life and feel this quiet ache. I used to dream. I used to want things. I used to feel alive. But little by little, you traded authenticity for acceptance. No one forced you. There was no big moment. Just small choices, over and over, until the person in the mirror became someone you don't quite recognize. And that gap between who you are and who you've been pretending to be is where regret grows. Psychologists call it self-abandonment. It happens when you hide your real opinions. You avoid saying what you need. You choose peace over truth. You dim your personality so others feel comfortable. You pretend to be okay so no one asks questions. Do this for years. And you don't just lose time, you lose yourself. This regret doesn't show up loudly. It whispers. And it whispers in sentences you tell yourself at 2 a.m. I wish I hadn't wasted so many years pretending. I wish I hadn't let their expectations become my prison. I wish I hadn't delayed every dream just to seem responsible. I wish I hadn't been so afraid of disappointing others that I ended up disappointing myself. These are not regrets of action, they're regrets of identity. The deepest pain isn't failure, it's self-abandonment. Here's the twist. The people whose opinions shaped your choices aren't thinking about you anymore. Not the coworkers you tried to impress, not the relatives you tried to satisfy, not the strangers you compared yourself to, not the people you performed for. Everyone is too busy worrying about their own insecurities to judge you as much as you think. You lived cautiously for people who barely remember what you wore last week. You postponed dreams for people who never chased theirs. You silenced your desires for people who would have respected you more if you had spoken your truth. That's why this regret feels so heavy. You didn't lose years to failure. You lost them to fear. But this regret is one of the few that can still be reversed. Not by fixing the past, but by choosing differently now. You take your life back by taking back the parts you abandoned. Say what you really think. Do what you actually want. Stop performing. Stop pleasing. Stop shrinking. Choose the life that matches your inner voice, not the expectations circling around you. Because the moment you stop caring about opinions, your real life finally begins. Authenticity is the opposite of regret, and courage is the antidote to becoming someone you don't recognize. You won't know this is a regret until it's too late, until the mask feels permanent, until the dreams feel foreign, until the life you built feels like it belongs to someone else. But it doesn't have to stay that way. The second half of life is not about being admired. It's about being real, being awake, being you. The moment you choose authenticity, everything you lost begins to return. Second life begins the moment you choose yourself. If this hit you, if something inside you woke up, then you're exactly who this channel is built for. Subscribe to Second Life Begins, because this isn't motivation, it's a revolution of identity.